Hi, welcome to Alaskan in the Philippines in Thailand. Today I thought I'd talk about soy dogs for a bit and whether they're a danger or not to you. And the answer to that, the short answer is yes, they are. You really got to be on your toes if you're walking around Philippines or Thailand here. There is a kind of a difference though, for instance, in the Philippines, there's a lot more dogs that I see. I think they spayed and neutered or something around here because I don't see very many dogs, and they put collars on a lot of the loose dogs. And with the Buddhist culture here, they're well taken care of. People, the Buddhists, they try to help animals, so they put bowls of food out, and they go out, the restaurant workers and stuff, they go out of their way to bring food out and give it to the stray dogs. I see it at a lot of the restaurants. The workers do that for good karma, I guess, too. They feed the birds rice and stuff too. But yeah, they feed the dogs and they take care of them. They put collars on a lot of the street dogs. And most of them will ignore you. They're just laying in a pile of dust along the road. They like the cool dust. It feels soft like a bed to them. So they'll just lay there. That's where they'll sleep, a lot of them. And they're not mean, but the problem can be is when somebody that has a dog that's chained up or penned up, and then they let it loose, or it gets loose unknowingly, and it's real territorial of its area. Like, for instance, that episode I mentioned a while ago about the dog fight that was out here on the road as I was there, and there was a lady trying to break it up, and I ran down and I helped her break it up by just getting in between and kind of roaring and yelling and waving my arms. One of them backed off enough to where the other one would actually leave. And her dog was a guard dog that was kept in her pen, but she took it for a walk loose outside. And that dog would come at the fence at me when I walked by it. And that's just down the block here. And I walk by it every day almost. But that time it was loose. It got in a fight with that dog. And then the very next night, absolutely the very next night, I was walking down the same place almost exactly, about 20 steps further, and the other neighbor has a pen where he keeps two dogs there. He don't live there, but he keeps two guard dogs there to watch his property. You see him come walking around. He lets them loose and walks around with a stick. I see him all the time, every day or two. And his dogs are real territorial too. And I happened to be walking by and the gate was open. His gate was open. I walked right by it, and one of them dogs came snarling out at me. And I looked around. Usually you bend down and pick up a rock. That's the best deterrent. Remember that. When they see you reach down to pick up a rock, even if there's not a rock there, you bend down and pretend there's a rock there, and that'll usually work. And they know you can throw things, so they back off. That's a good trick. Never forget that. But I reached around and looked around. There was actually a thin switch stick laying there. It was real thin and small, but I picked it up and made it look like it was a club, and I went above it my head, and it backed off enough to let me get past. But it was kind of pushing. It's coming right at me, and I looked behind me after I was done, and I threw the stick down. The guy behind me was coming too. There was another guy a foreigner walking up the road, and it came out at him too, and he backed off. He didn't go that way. He went around. He got away from that. So yeah, you always got to be careful of things like that, especially like walking down quiet streets and stuff. The quieter the street, the more protective the dogs are of the neighborhoods. A lot of the Filipinos, and I noticed, and even the Thai, you'll see them, if they're out for a walk, they'll carry a stick, and it's okay to do that. And I was told to do that in the Philippines. The Philippines is a whole different story. They got unchecked dogs, bred out of control dog populations there there's sickness and mange, really bad mange through the wild soy dog population there. Street dogs is what they are. And they're very thin, and they're not fed. They're living off lizards and cockroaches and whatever garbage they can get into. That's pretty much what they live off. Nobody makes any special effort. A few of them are a few places will throw them scraps and stuff. I'm saying they don't, but not so much as they do here in Thailand. Them dogs are usually pretty hungry, and they can be pretty vicious too. I've had more problems with the dogs in the Philippines, probably because there's more of them. When I'd be walking, doing my morning walk in Dumaguete area and Condoy, I'd be walking down, neighborhoods this wasn't the city of the main foreigner area. This was the Filipino area, and I always had to reach down, or sometimes I carried a pocket full of rocks with me. I often did, carried a couple of big rocks. I kept them right in the apartment with me. When I go walk, I'd stick them in my pocket and bend down to pretend you're picking them up off the ground so they know what you got. And they usually back off. Sometimes they won't, and you got to be prepared for that time. And you're kind of unprepared. You're sitting there in a pair of sandals and a shorts and a tank top. You're defenseless against a beast, that's got teeth. So it can be a nightmare situation if you're not ready walking around. So kind of get to know your neighborhood and get to know your neighborhood dogs too. So they'll recognize if there's a stranger in the neighborhood, but after a while, if they see you coming through, they kind of start, they'll ignore you after a while. But yeah, it can be a dangerous thing. I was walking in the Philippines one morning or evening, and a guy in front of me, there was a dog that used to come out to me, or I'd see it laying there in the dust, and it never paid any attention to me. I walked by it every day, and when I walked by it with the dog in the yard would snarl at me. He was always outside of the yard, but he would just let me pass. But this Filipino guy walked ahead of me. It was just 20 feet ahead of me. And that dog laying in the dust got up, and I seen it turn around and went up and tried to bite the back of his leg as he was walking by, and started barking and biting at his back of his leg. And I grabbed a handful of rocks. It was just gravel, and I peppered him with gravel. Or I hit him with a rock, actually, one single rock, and then I picked up a handful of gravel and hit him as he was leaving again. And the neighbor and the owner, I think, yelled at me for doing it, but I caught up to the guy. I said, "Did he bite you?" No. Thankfully, he said they didn't. So anyway, but yeah, in the Philippines, I've also heard of rabies. Like I say, all the dogs are sick, so you never know what they got. If they bite you, you better get rabies shots there. Anywhere, actually. But here, I think they have some kind of dog program. They went around, and I don't know if they spayed, neutered, and rabies shot a bunch of them. I don't know, but they seem like I read something on the Hue Hin forum that they did something with some of the dogs. I don't know where or when. But yeah, in the Philippines, all those poor sick dogs, they're all missing hair. They're gone bald from mange, and it's just scabby. It's mites that get under their skin, and they just drives them nuts, and they scratch it, and they'll be just scabby all over. It's mange, scabies kind of thing. It's just dry skin with no fur, and they just look sick. They are sick, There's actually a shot you can give them, and it'll take it away, and they'll go right back to being just normal again. You got to give it to them, though. It's a shot. They do it, and it works. Complete 100% turnaround for it, but nobody's caring about it really, of course. And they become a road hazard. Same in Thailand. You really got to watch out for it if you're driving, because they're out on the roads too, and they'll just run out in the roads, or they're laying in the roads. I've seen it a lot. They're laying there sleeping in the road, and you can come up over a bend or something, or around a corner, and there's a dog sleeping right in the middle of the road. That's a road hazard, and I'm sure more than accidents been caused by a dog laying there or getting up, and I see them laying along the roads in the Philippines. They're quite common to see a dead dog laying all over. I seen them, one still alive, half broken back, sorriest thing I ever seen, laid there for about 2 days. Terrible. It's just a road hazard. You'd think it would be. They'd thin them out for that. Where I lived in Alaska, in an Eskimo village, they had the police department, or they would hire a hired gun to go through the town. They'd buy them shells, shotgun shells, and they'd go through the town, usually when school was in session. But they do it in the summer too, early in the mornings or something, or late in the evening. When the kids are not around, they'll make an announcement on the radio, on the VHF. Everybody there is in contact on a VHF radio. They all monitor channels 63 and 68 on VHF. The whole town, so it's kind of they can really pass the word quick when they need to. It works really good. Announce birthdays or anything on it. They do big announcements of anything that was going on. But yeah, they get on there and make a public announcement, usually about once a month. We're shooting loose dogs today. If you want it, tie it up. If you don't, let it loose. And they'll hire a couple of guys, walk through town. They'll shoot them with shotguns, put them in a trash bag, and carry them to the dump. That'll be all the loose dogs. And that's because of rabies. We have a lot of fox in the area, and the fox bring the rabies into town. I see fox every day. I catch them in my yards all the time. There's literally hundreds of fox in the village running around. So one time back right at the time I went out there, moved out there, it was long ago, back in the late 70s, early 80s. They had a dog, a sick rabied puppy run through town and bite 13 kids. And they had all those poor kids had to go get rabies shots, 13 of them, young kids. And that time they went through the village and shot every dog. Every dog that didn't have a rabies shot got shot, every one of them. And they drug out teachers' dogs right out in their front yard, and they were protesting and crying and kicking and screaming, but there's nothing they can do about it. The governor ordered it, all dogs shot without a rabies vaccination. And these dogs, like, they do shoot them, and it's kind of a gruesome way, but it saves lives, because the dogs can get mean and maul kids and stuff too when the packs get too big. And those packs in the village would grow quickly. Like I say, they'd go thin them out once a month. They'd walk around, shoot every loose dog they come across. If you tied it up, that was okay, or in the house, that's okay. Nobody kept a dog in the house there. Almost all outside, even in the dead of winter. It's a tough place to be a dog. It's Alaska. But anyway, they would go out and they'd clean out all the dogs, and by the next month there'd just be as many more again. It seemed like you'd just walk through town, there'd be loose dogs tearing up the trash bags and stuff. So they'd steal meat and stuff out of the smokehouses, or steal dry fish in the smokehouses. They were always, if you didn't watch your meat, you turned around. I've been in villages where, like in another area of Alaska, and we go caribou hunting, we stop in a village, we pull up with our sleds of caribou meat, with our snow machines, with sleds with tied down with a tarp on a wooden, just like a dog sled, and we go into a guy's house for 5 minutes, and we're in there, and the guy goes, "Who's watching your meat?" And we go, "Nobody, we just parked." He ran out, he goes, "Let's go," and we ran out there. Dogs were already just tearing into our load of meat, eat it all. We had to back them off and stand guard. The dogs were that many in that village particular area. So yeah, it can get scary and out of control. They know what's in a sled, They see it. Meat hunters, there was caribou around, so they knew every sled that came in was full of meat, and they went out and after it. So yeah, I don't know, keep that in mind. One of your bigger dangers here in Asia is going to be the traffic. You having an accident on your motorbike, motor scooter, scoopy, whatever you rent, that might be a big danger. And also a loose dog will be a double danger, because he might be the one causing you your accident when your scoopy moped scooter, or he's going to be the one maybe biting you. So you got to watch out for that too. So those are just a few dangers of things that are probably more likely to get you than an actual robbed or murdered or anything like that, or attacked with a knife or anything. That's probably your bigger danger, is going to be your dog and your motorbike. So keep that in mind. Both of those can really backfire on you quickly, and I bet it's gotten a lot of people. The dog thing, you're going to get bit, you'll survive it, but just it's something that you don't want to have to deal with. So be prepared for it. Maybe carry a few rocks in your pocket if you're going to go walking or jogging or something. It's a good idea. Don't be defenseless completely. So just my words of wisdom. Even in the village, you reach down, the dog knows what you're doing. That's the first thing you do. You reach down, that dog will turn on and take off running. In the village, they do. And here it worked too. It worked in the Philippines, so keep that in mind. Or carry a stick. That would be a good idea too. If you're a jogger or something, carry something. But anyway, that's my thoughts on soy dogs. Well, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.